Siona God, hello all. Good afternoon, and Wado, thank you for watching. Today is day 37 of Transformation of America, the True Life Story of a CIA Mind Control Slave by Kathy O'Brien with Mark Phillips, and we are entering into Chapter 13, Operation Shell Game of Kathy's Story. Sometime prior to the death of CIA Chief William Casey, C-A-S-E-Y, I was in Washington, D.C. for a briefing on Operation Shell Game. Iran-Contra was politically explosive at this time, and U.S. Senator Alan Simpson, A-L-L-E-N, Simpson, Republican Washington, had a plan to set Panamanian General Manuel Noriega up to take the fall for the cocaine aspects of the investigation. Noriega had become yet another source of embarrassment to the Reagan-Bush administration. The need to convince him to be discreet about his involvement in U.S. criminal court covert activities had reached alarming proportions. Noriega had been an intricate part of arming the Nicaraguan Contras for Reagan, as well as international hub in the cocaine operations that funded the black budgets for ultra-secret projects, such as Project Monarch by my CIA operative handler Alex Houston's shadowy backdoor drug dealings with Panama further exemplified the kind of honor among thieves rules that Noriega routinely and openly violated. My role by contribution, so it's a play on the word contraband, contribution, contra, anyway, was but a small part of the overall picture. Nevertheless, Operation Shell Game was one of the more significant and informative covert operations in which I had been forced to participate. My role began one cold, rainy day when Houston dropped me off at the Washington Monument, where I was met by two agents who triggered me to go with them by flashing their IDs. They escorted me to the large White House office where I had first met Cheney to audition for the hands-on mind control demonstration some years before. As usual, Cheney and Reagan were drinking this time to excess for so early in the day. Reagan's cheeks were flushed and his voice slurred as he greeted me. Well, hello, kitten. Dick and I were just discussing the plight of the Contras since this Ollie North thing broke out. Cheney's alcoholic, foul mood was immediately apparent. He was agitated as usual at Reagan's informality in my presence. Apparently, I had come in during a serious discussion about Iran-Contra, as Reagan's mood was more somber than I had ever seen. He took a drink and looked out the window. Americans believe in their country, baseball, hot dogs, and Ollie North. Cheney snorted a laugh at what seemed to be an ongoing joke between them about hot dogs and Ollie North. Reagan continued, and I believe in the Contra cause and all that we have accomplished, and I'm damn proud of it. It's not law and order. No, it's order and then law. Order must come first, because without it, law would be ineffective. Sometimes we must rise above and beyond the law to establish that order. He glanced seriously at Cheney. Or a new world order. And world is in brackets. A new order. And new is underlined, by the way. As president, that is my responsibility. Establish order through democracy by spreading democracy throughout the world. With order, there is peace. Right now in Nicaragua, the people are crying out for democracy, for peace, and I cannot turn a deaf ear to them, not even in view of Ollie North's troubles. True Americans know he is a hero. That's why we must rise above the law to establish order by fulfilling the wishes, the hopes, and dreams of those brave men fighting for our freedom, by doing our part in spreading democracy. Fighting for freedom, by doing our part in spreading democracy. Reagan was gesturing into the air, apparently lost in the poetry of his own ranting. Cheney lost patience and jumped from his chair to sneer at me and poke his finger in my chest while he said, order is all that matters, and you're going to follow mine. Reagan turned back to us. I'm glad you brought that up, Dick, kitten. You have a role in establishing this order. With the same patriotic passion that burned in your bosom for the freedom fighters of Afghanistan, you will carry out your orders for the Contras. Dick will define your role and provide you with all you need and all you need to know from the old wizard's bag in the basement. In brackets, it says Oz programming in Cheney's Pentagon office. So you run along now and do as he commands. Senator Alan Simpson was in Cheney's office when we arrived. Cheney flipped over the hourglass to let me know that my life was on the line according to Oz programming. Cheney gestured to Simpson and began Operation Shell Game, and Simpson's brainchild. So he's master of the game, and he's going to teach you the rules. The objective of the game is to see who's left holding the goods. Pointing to Simpson, he commanded, listen to him. Simpson stood up and began cryptically talking. You're going on a princess cruise, Noriega's yacht, in brackets. The baby's ear shell is your pass key. I will provide you with yours at the appropriate time. He took the shell out of his wallet. It was approximately 1.5 inches long and was translucent pink, shaped and detailed exactly like a baby's ear. Okay. Simpson noticed the relief cross my face as I realized it was not a real baby's ear. He smiled. These are but empty shells of the life they once possessed. Like you are empty and void of life, a shell, in one ear and out the other. I have your ear, now listen. If they hold the passkey, you listen. When you hold the passkey, you speak. In one ear and out the other, never again to be retrieved. He returned the shell to his wallet and continued, listen, follow orders. The Colonel Aquino, in brackets, will be there, and you will follow his orders and provide a demonstration hands-on style for General Noriega, which Noriega is in brackets. It will be different, yet the same, so follow the Colonel's orders closely. Cheney roughly grabbed my hair and pulled my head back, got right in my face and said, or I'll get her, my pretty, your little girl. Follow orders as though her life depends upon it, because it does, or the next baby's ear will be taken from Kelly. So listen, when you see the baby's ear, you will listen. He spun my head in the direction of the hourglass as he released my hair. He was sneering, and Simpson looked as though he thought Cheney overdid it. I was relieved it would not be my job to soothe Cheney's savage beast sexually that day. Cheney took me back to the White House office where we started. He and Reagan shared another drink. Reagan patted my hair back in place where Cheney had pulled it, which made me feel safe somehow, since I could not comprehend that he was behind my ordeal with Cheney. Reagan switched my personality to where I no longer regarded him as chief, but instead as Uncle Ronnie. He did this by reaching into his jelly belly jar and giving me one. Certain colors and flavors triggered certain program responses. Uncle Ronnie must have had other quote-unquote kittens conditioned to the military green watermelon ones, because he kept an excess amount of these in his numerous jars. Cheney said, how in the hell you drink cognac and eat those goddamn jelly beans is beyond me. Reagan responded, well, Dick, you don't have to have a jelly belly if you don't want to. I was just given one to kitten here. Damn right I don't have to have a jelly belly, but you're going to have a jelly belly if you keep that shit up. Cheney finished his drink. Reagan chuckled. Now, you know I watch my figure. Figure this, Cheney interrupted. What are you going to do with the Contras? Cheney slammed his drink down and headed for the door. Exactly what I've been doing. Reagan turned to me. Come on, kitten, let's take a walk. I need my evening constitutional. Reagan was in no mood for sex, and it was a relief to be away from Cheney. He took me outside for a walk in his quote-unquote secret garden, where he said he goes to quote-unquote think and solve the world's problems. We walked down a cement path he referred to as a quote-unquote yellow brick road. After sitting quietly on a cement bench for a while, he said, quote-unquote, if you follow the yellow brick road, it leads right to the wizard's lair, the Oval Office. How would you like to see where Uncle Ronnie really solves the world's problems? I felt like a little girl with her daddy going to see where he works with no real concept of the experience. The guard at the Oval Office door ensured I was returned to my escorts when Reagan was through, quote-unquote, sneaking me in to his office. I was then taken back to Washington Monument, where Houston was waiting in the car as though I had never been gone at all. Operation Shell Game brought me back in touch with former President Gerald Ford. Early one misty fall morning, Ford's continued relationships with my abusers had given me cause to remain in touch with him throughout the years, particularly since he and my father were still jointly active in the Michigan organized crime, drugs, and pornography operation that had launched me into Project Monarch so many years before. Ford was about to embark on a game of golf with my father on the otherwise quote-unquote closed for the season golf course next to my father's expensive house in affluent Grand Haven, Michigan. My brother Mike was with my father and me as we rendezvoused at the clubhouse with Ford and the Secret Service personnel assigned to him. Ford told my father he would quote-unquote catch up with him and Mike at the third hole and to quote-unquote leave us to our business. I was maintained in quote-unquote silence until Ford and I were out of range of the Secret Servicemen, and I recited a message from Reagan instilled prior to the shell game. If you please, sir, that's in quotes, I began in Oz cryptic. Here's some more. I have a message for you from Uncle Ronnie. It is a humming telegram, which in brackets is oral sex game, to see if you agree that our national anthem should be changed to America the Beautiful. In parentheses, Reagan was actually serious about changing our national anthem. Ford responded in quotes, we may have to see about that later. First, we've got some other holes to attend before the sun gets up any higher. As he teed up his golf ball, I asked in quotes, do you still golf a lot now that you're no longer president? He said very seriously in quotes, I golfed a lot when I was president, but now I just keep up with events from the golf course. I've earned the privilege of monitoring the progress of America's freedom train at my leisure. He turned to face me. Do you play golf yet? In quotes, very well, sir, when permitted. In parentheses, Houston always ensured he won. Ford was openly amused by my answer and handed me his club, quote-unquote, give it your best shot. I outshot him the first stroke, and his amusement vanished. I gave him back his golf club as ordered. Don't go hang, Wiener, good Chanowski, to him again, love you, mean it.